All right, the recording has started, so I'm going to welcome everyone here. Welcome to Remote Control, Embracing a Cloud-Based Accounting Department, presented by your part-time controller in partnership with ASU Lodestar Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Innovation. Thanks for being here with us today. Just as a reminder, this presentation is being recorded and your lines are muted. If you have any questions, please make sure you're entering them in the chat box and we will try and address as many as we can at the end of the program. So quick, before we start, I want to do a poll just to see where people are joining us from. My partner in crime here, Erica, should bring a poll up on your screen. And I'm going to continue talking, but once we get the results here, I will kind of discuss them. And I will also use them to tailor our presentation today and some of our discussion points. Okay, I'm actually getting the poll as well, so I'm going to answer that. Oh, no, it's not up yet. Okay, so our learning objectives today, we're going to discuss benefits of a work from home environment for your accounting department. We're going to review prerequisites for establishing a work from home environment. We're going to introduce, give me 1 second here, introduce cloud-based accounting solutions and related apps that can boost efficiency. And we're going to share policy considerations for maintaining internal controls in a cloud-based accounting department. Based on the survey, it looks like we kind of have a healthy mix of other staff, nonprofit staff, and executive directors. So that's awesome. I think we're going to cover something for everybody here today. So that's a lot of objectives to get done in an hour. So I know you're sort of skeptical at this point, but my job today is to turn skeptics into believers and to prove to you that you really can move your accounting department into the cloud. All right, give me one moment here. So who is this disembodied voice coming to you through your speakers and headphones? My name is Dan Tritch. I'm a manager here in YPTC Phoenix. You can see my contact information here. If you want to jot it down, you don't need to be scrambling for your pen or pencil at this moment. You will get a copy of the slides after the presentation. As I mentioned, I work for your part-time controller, YPTC for short. So you're probably, if you're not affiliated with us, you're probably wondering what YPTC does. Glad you asked. We provide outsourced accounting and financial reporting services for nonprofits of all types and sizes. And best of all, we do this wherever you are. We can work in your office or we can work remotely. So our remote work is kind of what qualifies us to give this presentation today. Many of these tools that we talk about today are tools that we have used and implemented at our clients. We're presenting this webinar today in partnership with ASU Lodestar. And on that note, I'm gonna pass it on to Cindy Eady, who will introduce ASU Lodestar and specifically their nonprofit management certificate program. Go ahead, Cindy.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everybody. The Nonprofit Management Institute, or NMI, is a professional development unit within the Arizona State University Lodestar Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Innovation. Since 1993, NMI has taught nonprofit professionals the most up-to-date trends affecting the sector today, how to lead and manage staff, volunteers, and board members more effectively, and how to make strategic planning, marketing, fundraising, and resource development work for you. Our programs are open to individuals of all educational backgrounds and levels of experience who are seeking professional development, from staff and management to volunteers and board members, as well as private sector professionals seeking a career change. We fill a unique educational niche by helping hundreds of working adults reach their professional development goals. With online and in-person certificate programs, NMI is dedicated to building the capacity for those who lead, manage, and support nonprofit organizations. Okay, we can move on to the next slide, Dan. The professional development certificates offered through NMI provide you with an unparalleled opportunity to develop and enhance your leadership and management skills that you need to make your organization thrive and grow. These are a few of the certificates that we offer here at the Lodestar Center. Please check us out on our website. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cindy. All right, so you saw with our learning objectives that we have a lot to cover in the course of an hour. So without further ado, let's take a deep breath and get started. So let's talk about a few, before we jump into the applications themselves, let's talk first a little bit about the benefits of a work from home environment, all right? And there are many, so we're not gonna cover all of them, but we're gonna cover a few here. One major benefit is it makes your company more attractive to potential employees, right? So as working from home becomes more prevalent, and let's be honest, actually, it's become almost universal over the past few months, employees and recruits will expect you to offer a work from home solution. Furthermore, if you are able to offer a completely remote solution, you expand your recruiting pool overnight. You don't just have to interview candidates that are in your state or city. You can now interview candidates nationally or even internationally if you wish. A work from home environment makes your organization better equipped to handle external pressures like COVID-19. COVID-19 has taught us that anything can happen and that we need to be prepared. Even without a pandemic, there are other things we need to be prepared for, like a blizzard or even a hurricane, right? So making sure that you have a remote environment allows your organization to continue on in the face of uncertainty. And finally, a work from home environment really helps to contribute to the well-being and thus productivity of employees. Employees are happier and therefore more productive, according to a Harvard study, when they're offered a work from home option. All of us here attending have some affiliation with a nonprofit, right? That's why we're here. So some nonprofit specific benefits for your accounting department. You can get your board the information they need to stay involved. You have talented board members. You want to make sure you get them information on a timely basis so that they can do their job, which is governance, right? So by making your information more accessible, like reports available, made available online, the board could be more responsive and involved. A work from home environment makes collaboration easy. You can collaborate with employees and colleagues across great distances. And we'll talk a little bit more about how many of these applications that we'll discuss today can improve efficiency, but suffice to say that efficiency in the back office means that your organization can focus more on your mission. Some prerequisites for establishing a work from home environment, some things to have in place before you begin. Tech savvy or tech adaptive employees. So what I mean by this, tech savvy employees are those employees like me who are fortunate enough to grow up at a time where computers were everywhere. We've been on cell phones our entire lives. We're just very good at picking up new technologies. Tech adaptive employees are those employees who may not be quite as adept at using technology, but still enjoy learning new technologies and are capable of doing so. Even if you don't have tech savvy or tech adaptive employees, there are ways to help them. And one thing you could consider is for those who struggle with technology a little bit, you could implement a professional development policy that allows them to take maybe a day or two a year to learn a new technology, and that will help them gain their confidence in a strong foundation. Culture, 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 right? So culture is incredibly important, especially in a decentralized environment. Working from home presents unique challenges and poses many questions. Your staff needs to feel free to ask those questions. Many of us talk about an open door policy. Well, if you want to run a work from home / remote environment, you need to blow that open door off its hinges and leave the door open all the time. You're going to have lots of questions, especially if it's a new transition to a remote environment. So you need to make sure that your culture is such that your employees feel free to ask those questions. And last but not least, you need to have a solid IT solution, right? Outsourced or in-house, you need an IT solution to assist with the inevitable bumps in the road. It would be, a good hope that the tech issues that you come up against are as easy as unplugging and plugging in your router, but that's likely to not be the case all the time, right? If you have a webinar and it's 6 in the morning and your internet's not working, you need to be able to pick up the phone and call someone to help out. All right, let's get into the meat of our presentation, cloud-based accounting solutions and related applications. Some sample solutions for common accounting department functions. Before we start, a few warnings. We're going to discuss several applications in depth today. We are highlighting these applications because we believe they're helpful in establishing a work from home environment. However, there are other solutions than those highlighted today, and you and your organization should research all possible solutions to determine which is right for you. One major reminder here, any work from home solution environment should be evaluated by an IT professional for security considerations. Very important. I actually just received an email today from an affiliate that I perceive to be fraudulent. So I get one maybe a month where I feel like someone's email has been hacked. You need to make sure you have an IT professional that is evaluating all of your applications that we discussed today if you decide to implement any of them. Okay, so I get it, you're skeptical, all right? But let's see what we've got here, all right? We'll look at cloud-based solutions for the following functions, right? Communication tools, file storage, accounting information systems, accounts receivable and cash receipts, accounts payable and cash disbursements, expense management, and finally, payroll. Oh, sorry, payroll and forgot donor management. First up is communication tools. Many of these icons on here, you're going to be familiar with already. Your organization likely already uses a communication tool, but we'll go through a few of these. Slack is a popular communication tool, especially with the younger crowds. It's a really excellent collaboration application in that it works on computers, tablets, and phones, and includes file sharing and face-to-face video. Its user interface can be a little bit more difficult to navigate for users who didn't grow up around computers, but it's still an excellent option and one that's used widely today. Microsoft Teams is also a collaboration software that includes file sharing, video conferencing, chat, and cloud-based storage through SharePoint. Microsoft Teams is also an option that you should really consider if your organization already operates on Microsoft 365 because it comes with your subscription. Zoom is an application that I think we are all familiar with, not least because we're all using it right now. But most of us have already used Zoom, and it's purely a video conferencing software. So it doesn't have all the collaboration, the file sharing, and things like that that Slack and Teams has. GoToMeeting is another popular video conferencing solution that's very reliable as well. So what you need to consider, especially with communication tools, is the breadth of collaboration your organization needs. If you just need video conferencing, Zoom or GoToMeeting is a good option. If you need more collaboration, like the ability to share files, Slack and Microsoft Teams are likely the options you want to take a look at. File storage. Since you're working from home now, you can't expect all your employees to put a file cabinet in their home, right? So you need to come up with a virtual filing system. Some options that most of us are familiar with are OneDrive. OneDrive, again, is a great option for file storage if you already are on a Microsoft 365 solution because it comes with your subscription. Dropbox, another tool that's been around for a while that many of us are familiar with. Dropbox, you can actually get up to 2 gigabytes free, but that's likely not enough for a larger organization. Google Drive is also an excellent virtual filing system. The only drawback with Google Drive is that it requires a Gmail account, which if your organization is not already using Gmail could be kind of a pain. And finally, Box is another solution that's both reliable and affordable. Some cloud storage considerations. I mean, I highlighted 4 right there, but there are dozens of cloud storage options out there. So what do you really want to be looking for? First of all, you need a cloud storage solution that allows you to tailor access rights. You need to be able to limit which staff have access to which files. For example, no one in the development department needs to have access to the payroll files, right? So you need to be able to access which staff have access to certain sensitive files. You need a cloud storage option that has high usability. Is it simple enough that everyone will use it? I mentioned tech savvy and tech adaptive employees, right? You need to have a cloud storage solution that is visually appealing because it makes it less intimidating, but one that also doesn't take a lot of training to use. And finally, you need a cloud storage option that is secure, preferably one that uses dual-factor authentication and end-to-end encryption. Dual-factor authentication, for those of you who don't know, requires you to log in with a username and password. And then also require, when you log in, it will send a code either to an email or to your cell phone, and then you will need to enter that code to access your account. This makes it so that a hacker that has stolen your username and password still won't be able to access your account unless they've cloned your phone or unless they actually have physical access to your phone. So it really makes your file storage much more secure. All right, now to the meat of our presentation here, accounting information systems. This is perhaps one of the biggest decisions you'll make when moving to a work from home environment. We'll highlight a few systems today. The first one, QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online is the one we'll dive a little bit more in depth on. Xero. Xero is not quite as full functioning an accounting system. It's better for smaller organizations, but it's still a popular one out there and one which many apps will connect to. Intact is a much more full-featured remote accounting system, and it's also gaining in popularity as well. PAYABLE, they've kind of been a mainstay in the fund accounting space, and now they have a cloud-based option. But today, we're going to highlight QuickBooks Online simply because it's one of the more prevalent out there, and for the majority of organizations, it's going to be a really good fit. All right, so let's talk a little bit of an overview on QuickBooks Online. It's a cloud-based, user-friendly application, and it's very cost-effective. It allows for multiple users with different access rates. And many applications will connect with QBO to automatically import transactions. And we're actually going to look at some of these applications that connect with QuickBooks Online. We'll look at a few of them later. All right. QuickBooks Online is cloud-based. Data is accessible to all who need access wherever they need it. You can access your accounting data in the office, in the home, or in the home. It is, and another plus is that there's no more worrying about backing up your data. Data is backed up automatically since it's completely hosted in the cloud. Even with QuickBooks Desktop, you can back up your files, but you still need to remember to upload that company file up to a cloud storage site in order for it to be backed up off that computer. Or you can use a paid option that automatically backs it up through QuickBooks. But in this case, there is no extra fee for a completely cloud backup for your accounting records. QuickBooks Online is user-friendly. It's it's a pretty application. It's not very intimidating when you look at it. So that's very helpful when onboarding a new staff or bringing in a new application to the fold. It's also cost-effective. And for you 501c3s out there, please know that TechSoup offers a yearly subscription to QuickBooks Online for only $75. So if you are considering QuickBooks Online, that can save you hundreds of dollars a year. So make sure you're looking at TechSoup for your subscription. QuickBooks Online allows for multiple users with different access rates. This ensures that those who have access to QuickBooks Online only see what they need to see. And I'm going to show you an example here of a user access page. I apologize, it's probably not that easy to see, but what I wanted to show you here is this is highlighting the vendors and purchases user access. So when you onboard someone onto this, you can choose this as an access rights. And what this allows that person to do is all these things with the green check marks, right? It allows them to enter bills from vendors, but it doesn't allow them to view bank registers, which means they also can't reconcile the bank account. And this is important for from an internal control perspective for segregation of duties. This is an example, though, of how a work from home solution can actually improve your segregation of duties by making sure that you can actually lock certain people out of applications and make sure they only can see what they need to see. And last but not least, one of the main draws for QuickBooks Online is that many applications will connect with QBO to automatically import transactions. So what do I mean by this? This is a little bit older of a picture, but on the left side, if you're using QuickBooks Online already, you'll see an apps button and it will take you to a page that looks like this. And it will give you access to over 650 apps that will allow you to automatically sync data or analyze data through QuickBooks Online, and it makes your accounting department's job much, much easier. 3 of these apps we will actually highlight here today. You can see Expensify, Bill.com, and Gusto. We're going to go through and talk a little bit about how they can integrate with QuickBooks Online. All right. So we've discussed quite a bit already, right? We've covered ways to communicate, store your files, and track your accounting data. But how do you receive cash payments for services or donations while you're working from home? Well, there are a few options for this as well, some of which you've probably heard of and used in your personal life. We have QuickBooks Payments, which obviously one of the main benefits is that QuickBooks Payments works pretty seamlessly with QuickBooks Online. We have Bill.com, which is known mostly for in the accounts payable space for paying vendors, but it also has an accounts receivable module as well. We have PayPal, which many of us are familiar with, and we have Square. Square we're familiar with mostly from their card readers. If you've ever gone to a craft show or anything like that, or a coffee shop, they often use those Square card readers. Today, though, we're going to highlight QuickBooks Payments simply because it integrates so well with QuickBooks Online. Some QuickBooks Payments features, really turnkey integration, as I mentioned, with QuickBooks Online, customizable invoices, and there's this really neat recurring invoice feature that you can use if your organization bills the same customers for similar amounts every month. So turnkey integration. Because the service is offered by Intuit, it works really well seamlessly with QuickBooks Online. Not only that, but QuickBooks Online can automatically match payments for invoices created in QuickBooks Online. This doesn't seem like it would be that big of a help, but if you are billing some customers for the same amount monthly, it can get confusing determining which payment goes with which invoice. So the fact that QuickBooks can do this matching for you actually can make it a lot easier on the back end when you have to reconcile. So this is a huge feature that, again, if you're billing customers or clients the same amount every month, can be very, very useful. Less work, more accuracy. All right. Recurring invoice feature. As I mentioned, you can send recurring invoices and save time, and you can never forget to invoice. Personally, my daughter's daycare uses this feature, and the invoice looks very professional. It comes timely every month, and I know for a fact they're using the recurring feature because they sent it at the same time every month. But I imagine on their end, it's very helpful. It takes very little work on the back end to get that set up, and then they never forget to invoice the people who are attending their school. So it's an excellent feature to consider and saves a lot of time. And lastly, you can create customized invoices here with QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Payments. The invoices, you can put your logo on it, use your color scheme, and they look very professional. So again, something to consider just because you want it easier to collect cash receipts and send invoices, you still want it to look professional, and QuickBooks makes that very easy. All right, so now we can receive cash easy, right? But checks are always the problem. How are we going to receive invoices and cut checks when everyone is working from home? Well, no surprise, right? I have a solution for that as well. Bill.com, we mentioned, is a major player in this space earlier, and we'll dive a little bit more in depth here in a second. We have another player called Stamply. Stamply is a very robust system that integrates also with QuickBooks Online, but not many other systems. And then we have AvidXchange. AvidXchange works with over 150 other accounting systems, but it's not quite as popular a player in the market as Bill.com. And that matters because in order to pay your vendors through ACH, you actually have to have them sign up through a Bill.com email. And they're not going to trust, they may not, I should say, trust an AvidXchange as much as a Bill.com because most people by this point have heard of Bill.com. So we're going to highlight Bill.com, again, due to its popularity in the field, but also because it integrates really well with QuickBooks Online. Some features of Bill.com: it can manage both payables and receivables. It has excellent software integration with some of the major players in the accounting information system market. You have different payment options you can choose, including ACH and check. And it allows for easy documentation of the approval process, which is good for the internal controls of your organization, but it's also very helpful come audit time. Let's talk software integration real quick. It works both with QuickBooks Desktop and the online version. It can also integrate with Xero, Intacct, and NetSuite, among others. The QuickBooks Online synchronization process, I can speak from experience, is very good and very reliable. Payment options. Invoices can be set up for immediate payment or for future payment. So as soon as an invoice is in and approved, you can choose what date that invoice is paid, which is helpful, especially if you have a lot of invoices coming on the door. ACH invites can be sent directly to vendors. So you can send an invite via email to a vendor to pay them over ACH, which is a big deal because that helps decrease the risk of check fraud. It makes payment easier, but it also decreases the risk of check fraud. You can't steal the information off of a check that never existed, right? Not only that, but Bill.com does allow you to pay through check, but how Bill.com works is you will set up your payment options and they will sweep the total amount of your AP run out of your account. And then they will actually mail the checks for you. And what that means is that the account information that's on the checks is actually Bill.com's account information, not your own. So even if you choose to pay through check with Bill.com, it really reduces the chance of check fraud because your information is not on that check. And finally, the audit trail. The approval process in Bill.com is customizable, secure, and remote. So if you need 2, 3, 4 layers of approval for a bill, you can set that up in Bill.com. The person who's responsible for approval will receive an email once the invoice is updated, and they will need to log in with their username and password to approve that invoice. That's important, right? Because most of the time we're used to signing off with a date and some initials, or even on a check, putting our signature, which can easily be forged and which the banks we know don't really pay much attention to the signature. If an invoice is approved, both for coding and for payment on Bill.com, it requires the person to have a username and a passcode and hopefully dual factor authentication as well if you set that up in order to approve. So you can have a relative confidence that the person who approved that invoice is the right person, right? Furthermore, you can see you can approve it remotely. You can do it on, you can approve through your phone, through your tablet, or through your laptop. The approval process is automatically documented in detail, which is excellent. Those of you who've been through an audit, this makes the audit process much easier. The auditors usually come out minimum twice, right? They come out for their planning phase and then for the actual field work. Bill.com assists with both. During the planning phase, they need to see what the approval process was and that it was followed. All of this is automatically documented in Bill.com already. You just need to show them Bill.com. And you don't even really need to do that. You can actually give the auditors a login with read-only access, and they can see for themselves the approval tree, the invoice, and the coding. This is also an efficiency point here because this means no more pulling invoices. When the auditors send you that long PBC list, you can send it back and say, here's your username and login, pull your own invoices, and they can do it. And frankly, I'm sure they'd be very happy to do it. It makes it much easier for them too. So it's a win-win there. But that can save you, depending on the size of your organization, hours or even days of pulling invoices. All right, expense management solutions. So I can't see you all, but I can sense now that you're starting to believe, right, that maybe your accounting department can move to the cloud and make this work, right? But now you're starting to think of other bumps in the road, like what about credit card reports, right? Expense reports. There are many solutions for that as well. The first one you've probably heard of, Expensify. It's a popular player in the field and the one we'll highlight here in a bit. We have Tally, which is known for its customizable workflow solutions and also pretty good in-person training as well. And then we have Concur. Concur is better for larger organizations and organizations that have a lot of travel. You can actually book your travel directly through that Concur app as well. But as I mentioned, we're going to highlight Expensify today because it's, again, one of the major players in the field that works well with QuickBooks Online, and it's very user-friendly. All right, some of the features of Expensify. Expensify is a user-friendly mobile app, which includes receipt scanning. Receipt scanning we'll go through a little bit more, but it uses OCR text recognition to pull the salient points off the receipt automatically. It includes approval workflows, much like Bill.com had, automatic accounting sync, and a paperless audit trail. Again, one of the main things you need to consider when picking these work from home solutions are solutions that are easy to use, and Expensify fits that mold. You can see here in this picture right here, that this person is taking a picture of their receipt. What it's doing, you can see the green text here. It says smart scanning. The app is taking off the date, the vendor, the amount, as well as the last four of the card number if you have Expensify set up for that. And why that's important is because Expensify can identify which cards are company cards and which cards are not. If it identifies that the card used was not a company card, it can automatically tag that expense as one for reimbursement, as opposed to just being submitted for an expense report on a company credit card. That can save a lot of time and hassle. And so that's a really excellent tool to implement, to turn on if you get Expensify. Over here, you see this is what it looks like once someone has completed their expense report. They would click this green button to submit the report. And what would happen next is the approval workflows would trigger. All right, so the employee submits the report. That report, then the first approver in the workflow would get an email saying an expense report is ready for you to approve. They would click on it and they can see all of the information that was in the report, including copies and the coding of the receipts. If you want multiple approvers, you can do that as well. Once everything has been approved, you can pay reimbursement through traditional ACH or checks. And then all of this information is synced over to QuickBooks. So let's talk about what that looks like. Expensify works with other accounting programs as well. You can see there Oracle, NetSuite, Sage, Intact, Xero, all of those work with Expensify. Syncing Expensify with your accounting information system saves time. It improves accuracy. It creates an instant audit trail. You can tie back any of those credit card transactions into Expensify and show who approved it and when they approved it. And it also reduces paperwork required for the audit. No more keeping messy receipts or any of that. There's a electronic paper trail for all of the credit card expenses during the year. And speaking as a 9-year auditor, one of the main issues that we always encountered was the tracking of credit card expenses. So it would be, you will be doing your auditor a great favor by implementing a solution like Expensify, because it saves a lot of effort from the auditor's perspective, but again, also for your accounting staff as well. All right, payroll. Let's talk about payroll. So payroll solutions, none of you guys are out there are probably too surprised to hear that payroll can be completed in the cloud, right? But it's also helpful in the sense that many solutions out there now sync with your accounting information system and therefore provide a good internal control and provide efficiency for your accounting staff, especially as it relates to entering payroll items for allocations. So a few tools out there, we have Gusto. We have QuickBooks Online Payroll, which obviously one of the main points about QuickBooks Online Payroll is that it syncs very well with QuickBooks Online. We have JustWorks, which is both a payroll and an HR solution. And then we have the mainstays like Paychex and ADP that also offer cloud-based payroll. But today we're going to talk about Gusto for a few reasons, primarily because it's very user-friendly. And as I keep mentioning, it's important that these applications are user-friendly because you really want your staff to be comfortable with them and use them. There's excellent QuickBooks Online integration. And it also kind of has an add-on feature that's run through QuickBooks for time tracking that can be very useful, especially if you're having to allocate employees' time for grants or federal awards. All right, so you can see over to the left a little demonstration of what Gusto looks like. Very clean, very simple. Gusto is user-friendly, and that's awesome because a tool that is pleasant to use is a tool that your employees will actually use. And again, that's important. It's cheaper than most other options for small employers, though I would recommend certainly if you're thinking of implementing a cloud payroll solution, that you talk with as many vendors as you can, because obviously many of them are willing to negotiate on price. Gusto syncs really well with QuickBooks Online. What you're seeing off to the left of your screen is the online integration screen where you can actually start the mapping of your payroll information to your QuickBooks Online chart of accounts. This is awesome because it will automatically sync your payroll entries to QuickBooks Online. Ask any accountant entering payroll manually can be a pain. This means that no more manual entries. Not only can it be a pain, but it's rife with error. When you're entering that many lines and that often, there's always the opportunity for error, even material error, and you don't want your auditors to uncover that at the end of the year. So make sure that if your payroll company currently uses integration with QuickBooks Online, that you're using this option. And if you're thinking of going to a cloud-based payroll solution, that you make use of this option. And lastly, Gusto can be used with a product called T-Sheets. It makes remotely managing your staff a breeze. You can check what they're doing each day and make sure that you're allocating resources, human resources based on daily timesheets. It gives you a really good insight, even though everyone is working in a decentralized environment. It can also help you, probably more importantly for many of you, it can help you allocate salaries to grant and federal awards with accuracy. That's a big point. That's hard to do when everyone's working in the same room together. So as you move to a decentralized environment, a work from home environment, it's going to be even more important that you have a solution that will work for your organization and allows you to allocate salaries to grants and federal awards with accuracy. All right, and last but not least, donor management solutions. All right, there are many donor management solutions out there now that work in the cloud, one of which is Network for Good, which we'll dive into a little bit here in a bit. We have Razor's Edge, that's by Blackbaud. So many of you guys, they've been a major player in the space for a very long time. They're very expensive, but it's a very powerful development solution. And then we have Donor Perfect, also very expensive and very powerful, but one that many of our clients make use of, and it's an excellent product. We're going to highlight Network for Good today for many of the same reasons that we've highlighted the other apps. Its user interface is very friendly and it syncs very well with QuickBooks Online. All right, cloud-based and user-friendly. It has robust electronic communication options, which is important, and I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by that. It has very, very comprehensible donor dashboards, which can be helpful for your development, excuse me, your development group or your board. If they're going out to make an ask, they can see up-to-date donor information from their phone, tablet, or computer, and it integrates well with QuickBooks Online. So Network for Good is cloud-based, which means you have instant access to information for all stakeholders. And there are no physical storage concerns. So for example, losing donor information in a fire. Donors are the lifeblood of every organization. So you want to make sure that all of their information is safeguarded as best as possible. Electronic communication options. This was probably my favorite part about Network for Good. So Network for Good allows you to customize appeals, acknowledgements, event announcements, and event announcements based on custom donor lists. So you see this acronym LIBUNT, which in the development community is well known for last year, but unfortunately not this year donors. So you could run a list of LIBUNT donors and customize an appeal specifically for them with a click of a button. So no more sifting through data. You can go online through your phone or through your tablet, run a report and create an appeal like you see to the left. You can see this appeal is specifically for LIBUNT. And you can send an appeal just to those donors that you want to reach. You can track donor activity in real time through dashboards and see donor history and trends. And like I mentioned, this is really helpful for your executive directors or your board members who are going out for perhaps an ask with a big donor. They can, before their meeting, check donor activity in real time and see up-to-date donor history and trends, which is very helpful. And last but not least, Network for Good synchronizes with QuickBooks Online. This is an efficiency piece of the puzzle here because you can enter donation and donor info just once because you can enter it in Network for Good and it syncs over to QuickBooks Online, which is a huge efficiency standpoint, no dual entry. This also makes reconciliations much easier because there is no question about whether the donor database and your accounting information system match because they are talking with each other. Perhaps the best part about this, though, is that if your donor management solution and your accounting information system are talking to each other, that means that accounting and development are talking to each other and they're on the same page. Again, speaking as a former auditor, a lot of times we noticed that accounting and development weren't always keeping each other apprised of what was going on. Now with this, if development gets a new grant and enters it, or a new pledge and enters it into Network for Good, and that syncs over to QuickBooks Online, the accountants will notice and say, hey, what's going on with this? And that's great to do in real time, as opposed to at the end of the year when a pledge was noticed by the auditors that was in the donor software, but not in QuickBooks Online, or vice versa. All right, we're making good time. All right, so we've gone through a bunch of the solutions that can help you with communication, file storage, accounts receivable, collecting cash, accounts payable, expense management, payroll, and donor management, right? We've gone through a lot, but picking these is not the only, picking the app that fits with your organization is not your only consideration here. There are internal control considerations as well, right? Yes, internal controls, I know. It's not everyone's favorite topic, but internal controls are important. They mitigate the risk of fraud and error. All right, you've got me. What are the internal control considerations of remote work? Well, first let's define internal controls, because it's kind of one of those fuzzy ideas out there that we kind of know what it means, but let's get a better definition of it. Internal controls are an interlocking set of procedures dedicated primarily to safeguarding assets and minimizing errors. That's a long way of saying internal controls make it harder to steal from you and make it easier to keep accurate accounting records. Working from home presents both challenges and opportunities when it comes to maintaining internal controls. One important consideration is that before you move to this work from home remote environment, policies and procedures become even more critical, all right? So policies and procedures should be written. They should be written anyway, but it's even more important as you decentralize and start working from home. And these policies and procedures should at a minimum include written procedures for AR cash receipt process, AP cash disbursements, and payroll. You really should have them for all transaction cycles, but these three places are a very good place to start. Internal control considerations, sample controls for a work from home environment. I'm not going to go through this whole table here. This is for your reference, but I wanted to emphasize a couple things, particularly the segregation of duties and the monitoring portion of this. So we talked about how QuickBooks Online allows you, well, actually all the applications almost allow you to give different access rights to different people. And this is important because it helps you in a remote environment create a segregation of duties. For example, that user access that I showed you in QuickBooks Online allowed you to set up a user that was able to input invoices, but not able to reconcile the bank account or approve payments. So that's important because it allows you to make sure that payment approvals in this case are made by those independent of the AP functions. So someone couldn't create an invoice, let's say a fake invoice if they were to commit a fraud, and also approve payment for that invoice. That segregation of duties is important. But just because many of these applications that we spoke about today actually improve internal controls just by how they've been created and how they work, that doesn't mean you can stop doing the basic stuff, right? You still need to continue to monitor daily review of online bank account balances. This is simple to do. It may, make it part of your morning routine. Log on to the bank account and check in and see if there are any transactions that occurred the prior day that maybe you don't recognize. Monthly bank reconciliations, there's no reason to ever stop that. That's a really good internal control, and you need to make sure you're keeping up with that. Also looking at timely financial reports compared to budgets and forecasts and analysis of variances. If you're having trouble with any of these things, give us a call. This is what we do. All right, other important considerations. As we've seen, many apps actually improve internal controls by improving the approval process, right? So Bill.com and Expensify, you have this approval process that requires a username and password and ideally dual factor authentication. So no more signatures that can be forged or initials, right? Not to mention also that this approval process is automatically documented as well. So if there's any questioning of who approved what and when, that process is automatically documented and easily accessible. QuickBooks Online requires custom access rights to be set, which again helps with the segregation of duties issue. And Gusto and Network for Good can help secure sensitive HR and donor documents respectively in the cloud. All right, we've gone through a lot here. All right. Let's go through a quick summary of what we've gone through. So again, much like the tables before, I'm not going to go through all of this, but as you are evaluating work from home solutions, please reference this table. What we've done here is done considerations by function. So as you're evaluating communication tools, consider what kind of file sharing needs you have. Do you need video conferencing? Do you need just video conferencing? For file storage, what's the reliability of the solution you're looking at? Does it have user access levels? Accounting system, what available app integrations are there? That's a really big consideration if you're looking for efficiency to be gained in a work from home environment. We have payables considerations and expense management considerations. Payroll, one important one is import capabilities. You do not want to use a cloud-based payroll provider that doesn't talk with your accounting software in this day and age. It should talk with your accounting software. Donor management, you want to make sure that you have software integration again, so that the accounting department and development are always on the same page, as well as real-time access for your ED and your board member who are going out and making asks. Again, something I'm not going to march the whole way through here, but this is for your reference as you will get the slides after the presentation. But what we've done here is kind of outline the cloud-based accounting solutions that we highlighted particularly in this webinar today. And we show the solution, what it's used for, the internal control and efficiency improvements, the website, and some alternatives. I want to emphasize that that last column, the alternatives, is not comprehensive. There are many more alternatives than I've listed here. So please make sure that you're also out there looking for other alternatives that may fit your organization even better than the ones we've highlighted in the webinar or over in that alternatives column. So we highlighted today QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Payments, Bill.com, Expensify, Gusto, and Network for Good. All right, we got through a lot very quickly. So we can look real quick and see if we've covered our learning objectives. I think we did. Hopefully I've turned some skeptics into believers here today. We discussed benefits of the work from home environment, which included expanding your recruiting pool, giving potential new job candidates something that they're already expecting and will make their life better, right? And then we're also implementing a work from home environment because it really makes employees happier and therefore makes them more productive. It also makes us much more flexible in terms of in the face of uncertainty like COVID-19. We reviewed prerequisites for establishing a work from home environment, including finding an IT solution that works really well for you, and also making sure that you either have tech savvy, tech adaptive employees, or that you implement some sort of solution where an employee who maybe isn't as familiar with technology can take a day or two a year to learn a little bit more about a new technology and make them much more comfortable with it. We introduced many cloud-based accounting solutions and related apps that can boost efficiency. And we shared process and policy considerations for maintaining internal controls in a cloud-based accounting environment. I wanted to highlight here and thank the Lodestar Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Innovation, particularly Cindy, for partnering with us on this presentation today. You can see her contact information here. Again, you will be getting the slides, so no need to rush to your pen and jot it all down, but I wanted to send a sincere thank you to Cindy and ASU Lodestar. And finally, our contact information is here. You can visit our website at yptc.com. You can call us at 844-358-4023, or you can email us at hello@yptc.com. So for those of you who just wanted to see the webinar, that's all of our content. We have about 10 more minutes for question and answer, and I see we have quite a few questions out there. So I'm going to start answering some of the questions here. If you need to get going, thank you so much for allowing us to present this information to you today. And again, you will be receiving the slides sometime today via email. For those of you who are going to stick around, I'm going to dive into the questions here and see what we have. So can you give an example of how a very small accounting department might assign user access to the accounting system or bill payment system? How might I split the duties? This is a really good question and one we see all the time. The important thing to consider here with a small accounting department is that with segregation of duties is that depending on how small your organization is, and there's not a lot of information in this question, so I can't tell, but you may have to include your governance or board in this process as well. So if you don't feel like you have enough employees to segregate the duties appropriately, maybe consider involving your treasurer in the process and having them do a piece of the process and perhaps the final approval of the of payment or approval of the invoice itself. QuickBooks access, this other question, QuickBooks access to the level of specificity of purchases, et cetera, is only available in advanced, right? Not pro. I'm actually not sure of that. I do believe that is correct, but I'm not 100% sure of that. What this particular attendee is referencing is that QuickBooks Online has several levels that you can purchase. And she's saying that the putting a vendor in purchases access rights might be only available in advanced, but not pro. I would have to check on that, but that's a good point. Do you know if Expensify will allow us to set per user maximums? For example, not allow an employee to request reimbursement for airfare or travel that exceeds a per employee maximum. I believe what you can do with that is set a threshold that will alert the approver if they go over that, but I don't think there's anything that would actually stop them from doing that. But there are certain thresholds that you can set in Expensify so that the approver is alerted. You mentioned that Gusto offers time tracking. Does it allow staff to assign time to both programs and funding sources? I have seen time tracking solutions do that. I don't think T-Sheets is quite that is able to do that, at least without some work on it. So I think that they could offer that sort of solution, but you would have to work with T-Sheets to set that up. It's not something that you would just be able to turn it on and make it work right away. Let me see here. For Expensify, do users have to be a QuickBooks Online user? No, you do not. Expensify syncs with QuickBooks Online, but it's not, you're not required to have QuickBooks Online to use Expensify. Does YPTC present any other webinars? Where can I find more information about your webinars? Good question. At yptc.com. You can find more information about the webinars that we presented, both on topics like work from home and applications, as well as more current topical information, like on the Paycheck Protection Program loans. We have a Staying Afloat series on our website that you can access on yptc.com that will give you tons of information on the Paycheck Protection Program. All right, I think I got through all of these. Oh, I missed one here. As the finance manager, I don't have access to certain bank accounts. I don't believe my director has the time to review those bank accounts daily. Is there another solution? Well, without knowing a little bit more about your organization, it's tough to say what the internal control structure should look like. That being said, there typically is usually a solution, right? As long as you have a few employees, there's some way to make this work. So if you want a little bit more or a little bit of a consultation, you can email us at hello@yptc.com and we can give you some advice on how that might be set up. All right. received a compliment, but I think I got through all the questions. So I think we're going to end it now, just a little bit early, but I think the timing worked out well. Again, those of you who are still on, I really want to thank you for attending today. And again, you can expect the slides a little bit later today in your email. Thanks again on behalf of YPTC and ASU Lodestar. Have a good day.